Chairman, I yield back. Thank you.
Now recognize Mr. Garcia from California for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you. Well, that was a lot. I want to just first start by saying that we know that the VERA system should not be used as an unverified way of actually looking at the numbers. And so to continue to bring that up as actually a functional way of looking at the impacts of the pandemic is quite irresponsible. And I think that the comments we just heard, I think, speak to a lot of the other comments that we've been hearing in these hearings, and that is that there is a complete dismantling of what the importance of what vaccinations actually have done in this country and how many lives they've actually saved. The track record on the House Republican side as it relates to this issue and the pandemic has been quite shameful. We know that COVID vaccines have saved lives, period. Every reputable doctor, this has widely been a peer-reviewed, and we know that they have saved lives, and not just the COVID vaccine, it's other types of vaccines as well. And as we've said earlier, as it was mentioned by the ranking member, the House majority invited RFK, who, as we all know, is a conspiracy theorist and a vaccine denier, as a leading voice around issues around vaccines and the pandemic here to the House. We know that his opinions have already been discredited and they're dangerous, and yet he's somehow someone that is uplifted by the House majority on this issue. But beyond that, we know that RFK has made also racist and anti-Semitic statements, falsely claiming that COVID was deliberately engineered, and I quote, an ethnic bioweapon targeted to attack Caucasians and black people, and that Chinese and Jewish people are more immune to COVID. So these are the experts that the House majority continue to listen to, and was invited, of course, to appear to a House committee. Now, this isn't the first or most dangerous anti-Semitic trope that we have heard. In January 2022, he also said the vaccine requirements are worse than the persecution of Jews like Anne Frank during the Holocaust, which killed 9 million people, including 6 million Jews. And it shouldn't be surprising at this course. We have heard continuous anti-Semitic comments from the House majority. We have seen this tweet behind us before, and this person, of course, sits on this very committee, who just actually gave some very irresponsible facts to our witnesses and the committee as well. But just like RFK and other conspiracy theorists, members of this committee continue to attack vaccines. Vaccines save lives. The pandemic cost us 1.3+ million Americans. It's the single largest, most devastating loss of life event that we have had in the modern era.
Mr. Chairman.
It's the most significant
Yes.
loss of life we've had in the modern era.
Ms. Reed, please pause for a second.
I'd like to make a point of order and ask the members to be reminded of the rules of decorum, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sure, what rules are those?
The gentleman from California will suspend. The issues we are debating are important ones. Members feel deeply about them. You do. Everyone here does. Everyone. While vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum in debate. It is a violation of House rules and the rules of this committee to engage in personalities regarding other members or to question the motives of a colleague. Remarks of that type are not permitted by the rules and are not in keeping with the best traditions of our committee. The chair will enforce these rules of decorum at all times and urges all members to be mindful of their remarks.
Mr. Chairman, what rule did I break?
Does the gentlelady from Georgia have any further? Anything?
No.
Comment?
Mr. Chairman,
The gentleman may proceed.
Thank you. I'm not sure what rule I broke. I actually didn't call anyone out by name and did not actually disparage anyone. I showed an actual tweet that one of the committee members actually tweeted. It's a public statement in the public record, so this is absolutely not disparaging anyone unless the committee member wants to retract what was said up here. We can read it if we'd like. It says, a tweet, it says, vaccinated employees get a vaccination logo just like the Nazis forced Jewish people to wear a gold star. Vaccine passports and mask mandates create discrimination against unvaxxed people who trust their immune systems to a virus that is 99% survivable. So that's actually a public statement. I'm not sure that is an attack on anyone. I mean, I disagree with it, but that's what was said. Let me go ahead and continue. We also know that studies have found that COVID death rates were 11% higher in states, and this is an important point, with Republican-controlled governments and 26% higher in areas where voters lean more conservative. In fact, of the 15 U.S. states with the highest age-adjusted death rates, 13 of them were led by Republican governors during the pandemic. And I say this because vaccine hesitancy actually and causing and pushing folks to not get vaccinated actually leads to higher death, and that is a fact. I want to talk about Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, who's running for president. He, of course, bragged early on about pushing against vaccine mandates, boasted about his record, but we also know that the latest medical journal just last month attributed over 16,000 needless deaths to his failure to get Floridians vaccinated. They also fell behind the national average throughout 2021 as Governor DeSantis increasingly caved to vaccine skepticism, and the constituents paid that price. According to a report in the New York Times, of the 23,000 Floridians who died, 9,000 were younger than 65, despite the governor's insistence at the time that our entire vulnerable population was basically vaccinated, and end quote. I want to, Dr. Lynch, is it fair to say that vaccine requirements, along with robust public outreach and access to free vaccinations, result in actually higher vaccination rates?
Absolutely.
And in areas with higher vaccination rates, have we seen lower age-adjusted rates of hospitalization and death due to the pandemic?
Yes.
So it seems fair to conclude that these measures save some number of lives. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is it also true that discouraging vaccines and telling folks to not get vaccinated can actually lead to more death?
Yes.
Thank you. I yield back.
I now recognize Dr. Jackson.